Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 20 of Behind Enemy Lines Hockey Podcast. As usual, I'm joined with my friend and fellow countryman, Steve.
Well, it's good to be back. Another episode in the books, and I think this one's a little bit long overdue. We're coming off a big win over the dreaded rivals, and when we're talking about behind enemy lines, we were front and center with that on Saturday night. So let's dig in and talk about that game and what's moving forward, and we'll bash the Leafs a little bit more today.
Okay, as always, it's always a good time to bash the Leafs, win, lose, or draw. Um, and as Steve mentioned, this is going to be about our basically the gist of it is going to be discussion on the previous Toronto Montreal game. We'll dive into stats, trashing facts, and things like that. And on that note, I think you have a trivia question along those lines.
Yeah, well, since we're going to bash the Leafs, and right now, current standings, not without details, they're in last place in Eastern Conference, fifth from the bottom of the league. When was the last time the Toronto Maple Leafs were last in the NHL? What year were they last?
Okay. Real quickly, going to touch on Mitch Marner. He's done a little bit more since our last one. 4 goals, 17 assists, 21 points, +9 with 18 games played. Um, again, 21st, 21 points. He would be, real quick, I'm going to get it to here. I had it. There we go. 21 points. He'd be fourth in scoring on the team behind Nylander, Tavares, and Nyes, who Nyes, as we know, is out day to day with an injury. So, 7 points ahead of his buddy Austin Matthews. So, I think Sellers' regret is kicking in here on that one. Um,
Well, I mean, that's the word on the street, and there's a bunch
mhm,
of people that aren't happy.
mhm,
But I am. I think it's great.
yeah. Um, we're not going to do game previews like we normally do on this episode. We're just coming up next, or sorry, over the next week. We're going on another road trip out west. Wednesday we're at Utah. Friday we're at Vegas, and then the next night back to back Saturday at Colorado, which should be a pretty tough game. Let's be honest, Colorado's pretty powerful. Then we're back home Tuesday versus the Sens. I guess we could talk about the Colorado game a little bit because that's really going to be the measuring stick.
Well, that's this is culminates the Death Valley road trip as we would get into it this year because three teams playing exceptionally well, capped off by a red hot Colorado Avalanche team that's got one regulation loss in 60-minute play. So
Mhm.
they're a team that's piling on the points quickly, and that was us at the beginning of the year. We were neck and neck with them, but we've had a little bit of a reality check, and they keep on chugging. So
Mhm.
it's been good to see really that a team has been on a dominant run, but hopefully we can cool their jets.
Yeah. So if you just take a look at the standings here real quick for that road trip, um, Utah is sitting eighth in their conference with 11 wins, 8 losses, 3 ties, 25 points. Las Vegas is 10, 4, and 7, 27 points. And of course, Colorado, as we know, is 16, 1, and 5 for 37 points, just miles far and above ahead of everybody else in the league. Um, what kind of a what kind of a road record do you think we'll achieve, or what would you like to see?
Oh boy, I would like. I mean, this is one where we wanted a 3-1 road record the last time we got it. I'm hoping we get at least one win this time. This is tough sledding. And as much as we want to play the homer role, and I'm all for it, reality is this could be a little bit of a stepping stone for some of our guys to prove what their value is moving forward.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I'm hoping we get at least one win, and we're competitive in other games. Maybe an overtime loss. Maybe we catch Vegas not on their best, but going into Colorado and they're firing all cylinders right now, that's not the place I want to be. But good thing it's early in the year and we have time to bounce back from it.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I'm not expecting a win in Colorado. I mean, they've only got one loss. I mean, they got to lose eventually. Hopefully it's against us. Do I see it? No, but optimistic. I think a win and an overtime loss would be nice. Um, uh, Not unrealistic expectation for me. Um, so I think I think we got to put, like you said, it's nice to be a homer, but you got to put reality's got to check in at some point.
I'll be Homer Simpson this time because I don't think it's going to be good.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go to the next. What basically we'll just jump right into our daily topic, which is we want to break down the Leafs game.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that game. It was a tale of two games, and by that, the first 5 minutes versus the last 55 minutes, because Toronto was out shooting a 6-1 early in the game.
Mhm.
Um, what was the change? So let's backtrack there. Jacob Dobish got the start in net. We've come off a couple of shaky performances by both tenders.
Mhm.
Marty went with his hotter of the two hands of late, and it was still Dobish. And there was a surprise visit. The deputy made an appearance. So the sheriff's brother was called in. So double trouble with the X Factor times two. Florian made his NHL debut. And, let's be honest, he was the talk of the town after that happened
Mhm.
because he didn't disappoint.
Yeah.
He came in, he had an assist. He threw a big hit early first shift. He had an assist and a fight. He was just missing a goal for the Gordie Howe hat trick. Maybe that's a sign of things to come, and we're going to get that out of him. But
Mhm.
overall, a slow start. But boy, once we connected on the first one, it just seemed like it was men versus boys.
Yeah. And as a note here, Florian Jacki was actually third star of the game, like you said, an assist. 9 minutes, 48 seconds total time on ice. So for your first NHL game, what more can you ask for? You know what I mean? Like I've said it before,
Yeah,
like he played very well.
yeah, they walked in, brothers in arms. Obviously he drove to the rink with Arbor, his parents and his sisters in town. That's a pretty tight knit family. And the adrenaline. He was forewarned by his coach in Laval that Saturday night hockey in Montreal against Toronto. Playing with your brother, it's not going to disappoint. And you watch interviews of the kid after, and he's full of compliments and you could still see it was a little bit overwhelming, a little bit, tough to take in everything, but he did not disappoint. And,
Mhm.
I know what the naysayers are going to say. Why did we not call him up 10 games prior?
Mhm.
And that's always the way it is, right? It's the glass half full, half empty. Um, if it's full of beer, it should never be empty, but that's another story for another day.
Mhm.
He played well, didn't disappoint. I think he's earned, well, I know he's going to stay on the road trip, this little Western trip. So he will be with us for the next three games and probably the one returning to Ottawa against Ottawa. So, the kid's earned it. So good for
Mhm.
him. He's not been lighting the lamp in Laval, but he's not here to score 50 goals.
Mhm.
So he's here to provide a spark. He did that. And, rightfully so, 10 minutes of ice time, not bad for a debut.
And I think it's important that we need to mention two things about him as well. Like you said, he's going on the road trip. Um, but he didn't look out of place. It's not like he was there. A lot of guys that get called up to play that role of the spark, of the grinder, the checker, you know, again, we're trashing Leafs, I get it, but Reeves was like that. Reeves was a guy who could fight, but you were playing shorthanded every time he was on the ice. I didn't get that impression with Jack Eye. Jack Eye, to me, he fit in, he kept up with the pace of the play, he was forechecking, he was creating opportunities. I mean,
And he hit
created,
people.
pardon?
He hit people.
Yeah, he threw hands. He threw
Yeah.
hands and bodies. But
Yeah.
again, those creating those opportunities got himself an assist, so he was doing what was asked of him, right? Um,
Yeah. And it was simple. Like he wasn't trying to go end to end every time he got the puck.
mhm,
His job was to get the puck in deep, follow in,
mhm,
try and put his body on somebody else's and see if he could turn pucks over and be effective. And he's a big body who plays a big body game.
mhm,
And when defensemen know you're coming, their decision making time is cut in half
mhm,
because they're trying to get rid of the puck to protect themselves. And when you're effective that way, it's a matter of time before
mhm.
turnovers are part of the game.
And the second point I want to bring up, because I've been a big advocate of bringing them up, you and I, even offline, we've had the discussions about this. Um, you know, would I like to have seen him called up earlier? I would have, for sure. Um, am I glad they waited? Well, I don't know that I'm glad or not glad. I mean, it's worked out for him, which is ultimately the best result for him and the team as a whole. I just don't want fans to get their expectations up that, oh, he's up here, he's here for the year. No, no, that's probably not going to happen. At some point, he's probably going to get sent back down, and I just don't want people to get, oh, they sent Florian back down, and so no, that's the game. That's part of learning the game. That's part of becoming a professional hockey player.
Right. And let's quickly talk about his impact and what does it mean. So in other hockey news, if you have not tuned in since we played on Saturday, Montreal signed a free agent, a player, Alexander Texier, who was released from his contract in St. Louis, signed a 1 year deal with us, 1 year, $1 million prorated for the rest of the year.
Mhm.
He was, if you want to Google quick stats, he's got 270 games played in the NHL
Mhm.
between Columbus and St. Louis. He's got 40 goals, 51 assists, so 90 points in 270 games. So he's averaging .333 infinity threes points per game in his career. So 40 goals is still, even though it's over 270 games, it's 40 goals. So
Mhm.
he has been known to score. He's 6'1", 207, if I'm not mistaken, the statistics for the tail of tape people. Um, but he's a center left winger. So he gives us some depth.
Mhm.
What does that mean? Coach St. Louis has already said that he might not get into the first game that he's available. He's been skating with us already. He wants him to be comfortable in his surroundings before throwing him out there.
Mhm.
So, do I expect him to make an appearance on the road? Absolutely. That doesn't mean it's at the expense of Florian. It could be Davidson gets the first night in the press box. I imagine it'll be one. Yeah, I imagine they'll each take a turn, and that's okay. Injuries are part of the game. We know Newhook's out for 16 weeks. We know Gooley's out, not the same position. We also know Laine's been out and would be due to come back in December. It doesn't mean that we don't suffer
Has it been
another
that long
injury.
already? Sorry, I hate to cut you off, but has it been that long already that Line getting like within a week or two of returning here now?
He could be back in the next 2 to 3 weeks if everything checks out. So
Wow.
yeah. So when we make changes, other changes are impacted. A guy like Florian Jacki has waiver eligibility. We don't
Mhm.
have to put him on waivers. So, unfortunately, people, that means he gets sent back.
Mhm.
And it doesn't hurt to have a reality check,
Mhm.
for these guys to come up, get a taste, for them to go back down, be integral parts of the Laval Rocket, get more ice time than they're getting in the big show,
Mhm.
for a chance to work harder to come back, go back and work twice as hard, refine some of the things that were evident in their games that they're not doing, and to get better at it. So if that call comes, they're the next one up. So,
Mhm.
I thought the kid had a great debut. I'm looking forward to the next couple of games. We don't have any proverbial heavyweights that might be in some of these games, but that's not exactly the only reason he's here. But
Mhm.
it was definitely a very positive game one, and the crowd was behind him, and that's something that we haven't had in the last 5 games.
Mhm.
We have been very lackluster,
Yeah.
and the Bell Center could be the sixth man. We've heard this phrase before. When we are on the edge of our seats, that building's electric, and it's hard for other teams to play. We haven't been that way for 6 games.
Mhm. And on the Texier note, um, as long as people have their expectations set, he is a bottom six guy. He's not getting slotted in on the top two lines. He's a bottom six guy, which I think in the long run you're gonna see him like in I say long run, short term, I think you're gonna see him as the third line center, to help alleviate some of that stuff. I just don't want people to get uh unrealistic expectations, I guess, where you're expecting him to come in and be the savior. He's not. He's a stopgap until we can get some of these injured players back without depleting the
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 farm team.
the farm team. And I look at it this way. On a home run, this is the equivalent to picking up Carrier last year for the defense. That's how I'm looking at it to try to be optimistic, I guess you would say.
Yeah, I'm again, I'm looking for this guy to be a bottom six forward.
Mhm,
And let's be honest, there's people out here listening, all 38 and a half of you, that are going to be of the mindset that Joe Valeno has not been good for us.
mhm,
I will say he's not been terrible for us. He's not been a guy that was signed to score 50 goals,
mhm,
but has he been disappointing? Sure, maybe he's just trying too hard. It was nice to see him score a goal in Montreal, so hopefully that's the monkey off his back kind of goal. But if Texier comes in and plays well, and we start getting some of our injured players back, maybe it's Valeno that's shown the door. He's on that
mhm,
same $1 million waiver kind of
mhm,
contract that you could bury in the minors, and you don't miss the money. It doesn't tie you up at the trade deadline. It's irrelevant money at $1 million. So we have to realize that this also forces the bottom six guys to be better.
mhm,
So we want competition. It's healthy,
mhm,
and it's going to come. So, here, and let's be honest, if everybody gets healthy, maybe that's just another body that allows us to make another roster move
mhm.
via trade or, a demotion. It gives us the ability to be a little bit more flexible in our roster, and that's what we want.
Yeah, and if you're looking at like overall position wise and things like that of who sits. I've been watching a lot of videos and other podcasts, and a lot of people are speculating that's exactly what's going to happen. Like you mentioned, Valeno is going to be in the press box. Like, and of course, a lot depends on how Texier plays, who comes back, when they come back, things like that. So, I
And
mean,
that's assuming, sorry to cut you off, that's assuming we don't suffer another injury
yeah,
because
really, touch
because this
wood.
happens, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
touch wood. Yeah,
yeah, touch wood.
yeah.
Because we've seen it. I mean, in the last three games, the Montreal players knocked teeth out of other players' mouths on the other teams, and then they leave the game. They are out a game or two games. This could happen. So the reality is having as many guys that are next man up mentality, it doesn't hurt us because as we get everybody back, somebody else could get hurt. So
Mhm.
it's nice to have the added depth that not a lot of money. And if he scores 10 goals for the rest of the year, I guess surprise we get a cheap bonus.
Hmm. Also called up, I noticed Ingstrom got called up. Um, I don't think he's going to be a long-term call up, but I like to see him getting his shot. I thought he played well enough to possibly earn a spot out of camp, but I think you mentioned it on one of our very first episodes about, sure he may have played well enough to be the seventh defenseman, but it was better off for him to be in Laval for his development.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people that are big fans of his style of game, and he's not flashy. He's not Al McInnes like. He's not going to put clappers through the boards, but he plays a game that is NHL ready. The
Mhm,
problem is we have NHL ready seven guys in front of him. So is this he gets into a game, does well, then does that force a trade?
mhm,
Right? When Gooley comes back, then do we have eight defensemen and we got to find a home for one? Quite possibly, and it may be him. It may be showcasing him to be part of a trade. You never know. I
mhm,
mean, obviously, we're not in the room with Hugo and trying to get those insider details, but at some point, you got to think his play in Laval has rewarded him for a call up. Hopefully, he gets into a game and proves that he can be an upgrade. And I'll be the first one to say it's not about the name on the back of the sweaters, folks. It's about the logo on the front.
mhm.
We're here to win hockey games.
Yeah.
And if by chance he gets into a game and Struble sits or Jackeye sits and we're better with one of them in the lineup and one of them out, I'm all for it, even
Mhm,
if that means Jackeye sits.
mhm.
I want to win hockey games. That's what we're doing here.
Yeah.
So if it's a mix and match and the characters that play well, and that means Arbor's got to sit in the press box, then I guess he's going to have
Mhm,
to work harder in practice.
mhm.
You know,
Yeah. And I'm just looking over quickly here with the defense. I think realistically, Caden Gooley is really the only one, and he's estimated return date of January 8th. So, we got another 6 weeks yet before he comes back. But you mentioned a point that I never thought of, which makes sense, is this a showcase? I mean, it could be, we know Montreal is, I wouldn't say decimated by injuries, but we got the injury bug pretty pretty heavy right now. Um, is there a trade in the works? Like you say, maybe Engstrom being called up. Maybe I think what's his name was brought back up too. Del Gaizo, was he not playing? Did I not?
Yeah, well, he was up, but he's gone back,
He's
and
gone back
because
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So him
So
and Joshua Waugh are back down. So it could be a showcase as one of these defensemen
mhm,
are part of a package. I mean, you get more value if a team says, "Hey, that guy could play at the NHL level." Maybe
mhm,
Engstrom is the guy. Maybe he gives you a little bit more in the trade. Maybe it's a 2-for-1, and that's a benefit. Maybe you offer a combination, and maybe it's an Owen Beck plus a Struble or plus an Engstrom, whoever another team would like. It gives you flexibility to make another deal.
mhm,
It's not necessarily the case, but we can't close the door on all the options
mhm.
because you never know what it is.
Yeah, and the only reason I wanted to ask that or bring it up is you mentioned it, and I think it's a good point, and we're not the only ones that know, when Kent Hughes uh gets an idea in his head, he's usually pretty good as far as making it happen, and usually something that nobody sees coming, right?
Yeah.
So again, it makes sense, like you said, and like we talked about in a previous episode, and you had mentioned that you're going to have to package together two or three things to get the fix that you want. Is the fix out there, right?
Yeah, and again, I know no more than the next guy.
Mhm,
But when you look at root cause analysis, what's the root of the problem and how do we get the solution? The
mhm,
solution is a trade, because if the guys there aren't winning hockey games, we got to change those guys.
mhm,
And these GMs have proven that with patience comes value, and value will put us forward.
mhm,
So, I'm not saying we're going all in on Tage Thompson, but you can get another guy to look good to another team, then maybe the value goes up and it doesn't cost you as much moving parts off your current roster. So
mhm.
it gives you strength going forward.
Yeah.
Again, that's just a different speculation. And if I'm right, then again, I'll take it and pat myself on the back, but probably ain't happening.
Well, you were right before. I'll give you credit. You were right before on the last road trip, so I'll let you
It,
have
it
that one.
happens. It happens once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
And I like
Um,
blue moons. They're usually in a tall glass with a slice of orange.
yeah. So if we take a real quick look here at Toronto's situation, as we know, they're last in the conference. Um, in case you missed it, they're last in the conference. I enjoy saying that.
Last,
Yeah,
like in the basement.
yeah. So right now for injuries, they got Matthew Nyes is out, Austin Matthews is out, Nicholas Waugh is out, Tanev's out, Carlo Stolar's, holy geez, Marshall, Rafi,
Yeah,
he's
he
out.
was. Yeah,
They're all listed day to day, so it's hard to say. Austin Matthews, penicillin for his vaginal infection must be just
yeah. I
run out.
that it's got to run its cycle by now.
Has been ruled out against Columbus. Probably know tomorrow if they're evaluated Wednesday. So again, it says estimated return November 26th, which is day to day, which could be, he's not playing against Columbus, but he could be in as early as the game after that, which Wednesday's Columbus, Friday's Washington, Saturday, Pittsburgh, Tuesday in Florida, and that's a road trip for them, which, you know, it's going to be a tough road trip for them. I mean, Pittsburgh, I'm telling you, if you, I think you'll agree with me. If you said at the beginning of the year, Pittsburgh was going to be where they are now, and I'm just going to bring it up here real quick.
They
Uh,
are tied with us with 25 points and,
yeah.
and ahead of the Leafs. And, again, when we did our predictions, I mean, we said, Pittsburgh might hang around for a wild card spot, but they're right in the middle of the conference.
Mhm,
And anytime you have guys that were 87 and 71 and 58 and 65 on that roster, once they dial in and play hockey, it makes the rest of the nobodies
mhm,
somebody's, and they find ways to score. I mean, if Sid looks, if he wants a right winger, I'll go to play it against Sports and get some blades. I'll go play on his line. I mean, I'm
mhm.
sure to get 5 goals by the end of the year.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's at his age is trucking along still at a point per game. As Sid goes, the Penguins go, and good for him, because he's
Mhm.
he's a world class. We're probably looking at one of the top 5 players of all time to play this game, and we should be fortunate that we get to see that guy.
Yeah. So yeah, so with Pittsburgh, Columbus, or sorry, with Pittsburgh and Washington, Washington's very similar spot. Same with Columbus. So, even though they're not three teams that are at the upper echelon of the leagues, with Colorado and thing like that, that's still going to be a hard road trip for Toronto.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they are decimated right now with injuries.
Mhm.
And I mean, obviously McCabe leaves the game. He's looking for his chicklets. I mean, it's not pleasant. I mean, ask Charlie McAvoy who took one in the mouth the game before, and
Mhm.
he's out. You know, anytime you're starting lineup, and it doesn't matter what team you are. You could be Columbus, you could be San Jose, you could be Washington, you could, Nashville. Pick a roster. Any guy that does not start the year on the opening lineup is in the minors for a reason because they're not as good as the original 18 or 20 skaters. Toronto's got Dakota Mermis playing on the blue line, and he's a way better hockey player than I am, but that doesn't say a lot.
Mhm.
Here's a guy who's been around, and for those of you that know Sheldon and I, we're from the booming town of Oshawa,
The
and we were
Schwiggity.
lucky to see the Shwee Diggity. We were lucky to see Dakota Mermis, who was a trade acquisition to our hometown Oshawa Generals, come aboard with Michael McCarron, another first round pick that was a Montreal draft pick, who was a bust, now playing in Nashville. They won a Memorial Cup, and
Mhm.
he was a good player, but he's a great junior player. He's
Mhm.
been a guy who signed in Arizona, Utah. Like, he's been all over the place playing in the minors. This is, I think, the most Minnesota. I think this is the most he's got NHL exposure, and maybe he's still looking for his game because there was some hands in his face the other night trying to see what was going on.
Mhm.
And when he's now getting top 4 minutes, it's a big problem.
Mhm.
And again, Austin being out, here's a guy who could score 50 goals at will when he's not in the lineup. That's always a good thing for us. He is known to hurt us, especially in Montreal. So I will take it. It was a beatdown, 5-2. They weren't in it. At one point, there was a penalty being called against the Leafs. It was like the Harlem Globetrotters playing the Washington Generals. We had the puck a minute and 12 seconds, and they didn't even touch a puck.
Mhm.
That's almost like an extra power play. Now, we
Yeah.
didn't score, but it was entertaining to watch.
Yeah. And
And
for
and it
people who have maybe never played hockey before, I mean, I'm sure most people that watch these hockey podcasts and episodes have all played, but for those of you that don't, they have no idea how fatigued and how taxing that is on a player to be trapped in your own end like that. That's like playing double the time. So for a minute of actual ice time feels like 2 minutes of hell, and you feel like somebody's poured concrete in your skates and you cannot move. That wears you down.
Yeah. And it's not just right then. That's for the next 5 minutes. I mean, you go
Oh
off and
yeah,
get a
it's
30
it doesn't
second
end right
breather.
away. It
Yeah.
lingers on.
So I mean, um, it was only a sign of things to come. And let's be honest, anytime the Leafs lose, it's always a good day. When they lose to Montreal, it's a better day.
And what's your
And
motto? Who's your favorite team?
I cheer for two teams, Montreal and anybody playing Toronto. And it
Yeah,
just so happened they were the same people this time.
yeah, yeah.
And it was fantastic. And just for the record, if you're a Leafs fan and you're dialed in watching this, why did you not call me? Because I'm sure if the shoe was on the skate was on the other foot, you would have called me.
Oh,
It
unreal. It would have been endless. Um,
yeah, and you know what? It was good. It was good. I mean, we had some great passing plays, but the Leafs are they're old and they're slow.
mhm,
And I don't know if they lose two of the next three road games.
mhm,
I am telling you right now, Craig Berube has got to be close to being out of a
mhm,
job. If it's not him, it's Trevelling. One of them is going to go before
mhm.
Christmas
Yeah, something's got to be done. Yeah. And it
because
might be, listen, might be a big trade too. I'm hearing, we've been talking about this. I know I've been talking about it for 3 or 4 years and talking about how, how to fix the Leafs problems. I mean, you could have last year, I don't think this year, but you could have fixed 99% of the Leafs problems if you traded away Austin Matthews. It would have been an instant fix because what you would have got back would have
was a
solved
farm.
so
You could have
much.
got the farm.
Yeah. Plus, you would have got rid of Austin Matthews, who is a very selfish. He's not a team player. He plays for the name on the back, not the logo on the front, and he's all about the next dollar. And you can see it the way he plays. You can see it with his attitude. You can see it just by looking at him and how he responds like if I was a Toronto Maple Leafs executive management, whatever, I would tell whoever's running the cameras in the building to never ever put the camera on Austin Matthews' face. Because every time something goes wrong and they put the camera on his face, he's just got this look like, oh well. You know what I
Yeah, we
mean?
got to do better. And
Yeah.
like
And I'm telling you right
he's
now, people
very
people can make fun of Mitch Marner. They're blowing up there last year, all that. Oh, he's just a crybaby. Well, maybe if Toronto had a little bit that passion on the team this year, they wouldn't be where they are now.
somebody from upper management needs to pull Austin Matthews down when he's by himself and like treat him like the unwanted redheaded stepchild and
Mhm.
just lay into this guy and just say, look, you got to show some passion, you got to show some emotion, you got to show that you're a dog in this fight because you are the guy we turn to. You have the letter on the front of your shirt that says you're different than everybody else,
Mhm.
but he doesn't do it.
Mhm.
And again, it comes back to the tale of two captains. We went through this. That's the difference. Nick Suzuki is a player's captain.
Mhm.
He wants to play for the players. He wants to succeed for the players.
Mhm.
Austin Matthews doesn't have a clue what to do.
Yeah. And we could be like behind closed doors in the dressing room, we don't know what's going on in the dressing room. I mean, he could be that guy in the dressing room. I highly doubt it. He doesn't seem to have the passion like Connor McDavid. When Connor McDavid ripped the Oilers there, if that's a very
Yep.
famous thing where he was just ripping them and they had to close the door because he was, dropping the F bombs and basically telling him to, smarten up. Which and don't get me wrong, because I don't see Suzuki as that type of captain either. I don't see him as the guy that's gonna, throw chairs, kick tables, and be swearing or whatever. But he shows his leadership on the ice. He plays with the passion. He plays with the drive. He's willing to sacrifice his body and go into the
He,
positions where he knows he's going to get hit to make the play. I just don't see
he's
Austin Matthews doing either of those things.
he's out there blocking shots. I mean, he
Yeah.
took one off his foot a few games ago, and yeah, he was slowed up for a couple of games, but he
Mhm.
didn't say, "Oh, guys, I got to take a couple of days off here. My foot's sore."
Mhm.
He's playing through it, and
Mhm.
we've seen players in our franchise do this before, play through injuries.
Mhm.
Two of our greatest players, our last captain and our franchise goalie, played through injuries, played through career ending injuries trying to win a Stanley Cup. This
Mhm.
isn't a Stanley Cup at the moment, but he's just showing that, hey, if I can do it, you can do it too.
Mhm.
And there's no sign of this in
Yeah.
Toronto.
And like
Could
I made the analogy earlier in the year when we did the comparison, the difference between Matthew or Austin Matthews and Nick Suzuki. Nick Suzuki's the tip of the sword. Austin Matthews is the arse end of the sword. You know what I mean? He wants everybody
yeah,
to do the work for him, and he wants to go along for the ride, right?
and yeah, and I mean let's keep going on the Toronto stuff because we could focus on Matthews all day long.
Hmm.
Wall did not look stellar, but he didn't look terrible. The Leafs are just a bad running franchise right now.
Hmm.
It's and I'm going to eat crow. And when I say this, people, there's not many points separating the bottom from the top
Hmm.
in the Eastern Conference. So as we say this, and by the time you get around to listening to this, the Leafs could win 2 games and be right in the middle of the pack.
Hmm.
But they look worse than the Buffalo Sabres.
Hmm.
And again,
There's a
yes,
hot take.
they look worse than the Buffalo Sabres. This is not a blooper reel. This is real life stuff here.
Yeah.
Um, and again, 2 wins by one team, 2 losses for another, and then you're saying, well, that aged quickly.
Yeah.
It could, right? But there's other teams that have other bright spots.
Hmm.
What do the Leafs have? And if your answer for the bright spot is a tanning bed in the bottom of the Scotiabank place, I guess that could be bright, but
Hmm.
it's not going to help you on the ice. It'll help you melt the ice. It's not going to help you on the ice.
They're going to look good for them early tea times in the golf in April.
Oh, they'll be sunned and seasoned and ready to go
Yeah.
come April.
Yeah. Um,
Um,
I'm just amazed too how I see a lot of the news reports and the reels on social media and stuff like that of the Leafs fans now like literally losing their minds and blowing it up. Like you're gonna start seeing jerseys thrown on the ice, hats thrown on the ice. They'll be burning jerseys in the streets. But what I think is absolutely hilarious, they come right back, they spend the money on the tickets, they spend the overpriced money on the tickets, the jerseys, and everything else. And until that changes, Toronto's got no need to really change anything. We saw it in the 80s with Harold Ballard, where he literally laughed at the people and said, back in the mid 80s, uh, early 80s, when they were really doing really bad, they were losing horribly. And Harold Ballard laughed at his own fans and said, "Hey, you guys are spending $200 or $300 a ticket. You're spending $100 for the jerseys. What do I care?" Right?
Yeah, yeah,
Now
and
corporate says they care, but do they really?
well, and again, um, what is the problem? Cap numbers. We talked about this before we went live, and they're going to be in negative cap money, up against negative cap money, looking to make a bad deal. I don't know why they didn't put somebody on LTIR to try and save some of that money. They didn't. It's going to cost some money. They're going to have to make a dumb trade to get out from underneath it, or they're going to pay a penalty at the end of the year,
Mhm.
because you can't be in negative cap money.
Mhm.
That's when your cap goes down. If you're over by a million at the end of the year, you have one less million next year. And
Mhm.
it's nice to say there's always next year. That's the Leafs motto. It's been their motto forever. Always next year. Next year's our year. They sound like the Dallas Cowboys and the Buffalo Bills.
Mhm.
But it comes at a price. And again, has Easton Callan looked like a savior? No.
No.
You know, he's a rookie. And again, he looks okay, but he's not Demidov, who's tied for leading rookies in points. He's not Kapanen, tied for rookie goals. He's not Dobish, leading all rookie goaltenders. I saw a stat earlier. The hockey writers, 32 hockey writers, did their poll for who's leading the rookie of the year. Right now, Schaefer would be the leader, followed by Dobish, somebody else in or somebody else in Kapanen and Dobish. So we have three of the top five rookies right now in the league.
Mhm.
That's what you do. You draft and develop. What do the Leafs have? Ryan Reeves. Oh no, you got rid of him too.
Yeah.
Like it's just one bad decision after another, and it's fantastic when they're the team that we have to hear so much about.
Mhm. Yeah.
I live in Indiana, right? And when people say I'm Canadian, oh Toronto Maple Leafs fan, I throat punch people. Like that's an insult.
Yeah.
Like how dare you do that to me? But they just assume, oh, I thought, Canada's team. No,
No.
Canada's team is Canadians. There's nothing more Canadian than the Montreal Canadiens. So,
Yeah.
Toronto
But
Maple
but
Leafs
you
could.
can't blame those people that live outside of, the Toronto market, basically, in the US, because TSN, Sportsnet, whoever, they are also Maple Leafs centric. That
Yeah,
you would think that the Toronto Maple Leafs are, the Earth's gift from God, and the sun rises and sets on what the Leafs do, when in reality that's not the way it is. And we're
yeah,
not, listen, as Montreal fans, it's not we're not being homers again. It's not unrealistic. It's not whatever. Every other Canadian market feels the same way. Toronto gets the the public sorry the broadcast. They get the pump up. They get the, I mean, all you have to do is look at the between periods discussion, and it could be a Calgary Vancouver game, but they spend more time talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs, right?
yeah.
Like
Their their
it's
page their
terrible.
page one. Yeah, their page one news in Calgary in their own city is page six news.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's astronomical. And you know, again, I'll make them page one news all day long when they're losing. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean,
Mhm.
there's nothing better than a
Mhm.
losing streak. I think the Leafs have lost 8 of their last 9. It's fantastic. People are up in arms, and I'm asking you, Maple Leaf fan, if you're a Montreal fan, poke a Maple Leaf fan, jeer him, get him to throw his jersey on the ice, get him to burn it in his driveway, videotape this. This is fantastic
Mhm.
because you know that it's been long overdue. And how do you fix it?
Yeah.
If you're
So I just
trading
want
your
you.
best, if you're trading your best guy, you got to trade Nylander. He's going to get you the most. Or you're trading Matthews because he's going to get you the most. Like both guys will get you a boatload of stuff back in return.
Mhm.
One guy you need to keep because he's going to keep you competitive. The
Mhm.
other guy, if you keep him, you're in trouble.
Mhm. It's going to get worse.
You
Because the
know,
problem is they got rid of Marner, which who I mean, I love seeing all the Leafs fans. Oh, Marner, this, he's an idiot. He's soft. He didn't do nothing. He didn't, he didn't show up in the playoffs. Well, you know what? None of them did. So you can't pin it on one guy. None of them did. It all goes back to the leadership. If they had a guy who was going to be a true leader and take the team with them, they'd probably be
He's
more
out.
willing to sacrifice himself to make that happen.
He's out there. He drives a Zamboni.
Yeah. Which reminds me, few other forget our trivia question, which is going to be a good answer, I'm sure. Uh, few other trivia questions. Uh, how many games? Maybe I'll ask you. I don't know if you know or not. Uh, how many games has the Toronto Maple Leafs played since they won the last Stanley Cup?
Well, 80 games a year, 40 years. It's got to be somewhere upwards north of 19 or 20,000 at this point.
Well, that might be the days. The days.
Oh, days,
Yeah,
games, 80 games a year, 40 years. It's got to be 3,500 games.
yeah. 4,642 games to date since they raised Lord Stanley's mug. It's 21,390 days.
Days.
That's the number.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one of my favorite stats, 2,100. Remember that number because it's 2,100 games since they lost to the Zamboni driver.
You know, and this stuff writes itself,
Yeah.
guys. Like, I mean, and again, we can poke fun because it's easy. And again, when you grow up in Toronto and all you have to do is listen to that, you're force fed with a slingshot
Mm-hmm.
to listen to this stuff.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what every other team does. The Edmonton Oilers were in the Stanley Cup final 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Lost both times. I get it. They lost both times.
Mm-hmm.
But the second the icing is on the cake, they're talking about Toronto being the odds-on favorite to win a Stanley Cup the next year.
Mm-hmm.
They can't get out of the second round. Do
Yeah.
you know another fun fact? The Toronto Maple Leafs have never won 3 rounds of the playoffs ever.
Oh, yeah. Because,
Because the last time in 67, there was only 2 rounds.
yeah.
Since they've expanded, the Leafs have never won 3 rounds of the playoffs.
Yeah. And
They
again,
lost
it
they
blows my
lost in a
mind.
conference final, but how does that generate them to be an odds-on favorite every
Yeah.
year? I have no idea.
It's that
And I
Toronto
know what it is.
biased media. Like
You know what it
I'll
is?
guarantee you, somewhere, somehow, you've got Kiprios, you've got Bieksa,
Mike,
you've got
Mike
whoever.
Johnson,
They're-
Carlo Koliakovo,
They
the O
are
Dog.
somewhere predicting, oh, this is just a mini losing streak. The Leafs are going to come out of it. They're going to bounce back. They're going to, you know what I mean? And I just laugh at the blind loyalty, how the sheep have taken the drugs and just fallen right in line. It amazes me. And it amazes me how Sportsnet can get away with it and TSN and whoever the Toronto media market people. I get it if you're truly a Toronto uh, sports outlet, Toronto Sun, Toronto Star, the local CTV station or whoever, or City TV or Global, whatever. But when you're Sportsnet and you're pretending to be a national sports broadcasting network, they need to be a little less biased and be more realistic on top of that as well.
It's okay to be a realist. I mean, you know, this rears its ugly head. The NHL again. It's that time of year where you're 20 games in, 21 games in, 23 games in for some franchises, 25% of the season's in, and they're already talking expansion again.
Mm-hmm.
And who should get it? Is Houston going to get a team? Is Arizona going to get a team back? And it always comes up. Why not Hamilton?
Yeah.
Well, if Hamilton got a team, Toronto would be jealous because they would want one
They want
too.
one too, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and again, at some point, the reality check has got to be, when do we do this right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to hire good hockey people with good hockey memories and good hockey minds to keep everything in check, because
Mm-hmm.
they just keep giving it away. That's why they have no draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
3 general managers before Trevelling has traded away draft picks.
Yeah.
Go back and look at the Brandon Carlo trade.
Mm-hmm.
Fraser Minton in a first-round pick. So, fun fact that even if they tank for Gavin McKenna, they don't have a first-round pick to get him.
Yeah.
Like, I hope they finish dead last because they wouldn't have a pick.
Oh, can you imagine?
Traded it away.
Can you imagine Toronto? Who did they trade that pick to? Do you know offhand?
Boston. Well, it's
to where? Sorry,
Boston.
So Boston has Toronto's first round pick coming up this year.
Yeah, apparently it's top
Oh,
five protected. So even if Toronto
okay.
was to get a lottery pick and get the sixth pick, that pick goes to Boston. They've
Yeah.
lost that one too
Yeah.
in a deep draft. Like,
Wow.
good job, guys. Love it.
Yeah. And I don't understand. Again, I guess maybe, you and I as tailgate GMs and, water cooler coaches, I just don't understand how as a GM you can go into that situation and think that it can be successful. You know what I mean? Because if you look at the current roster, right, you think, okay, like let's be honest, Toronto's got a couple good players. I'm not gonna knock them for that, but they don't have a deep roster. And I don't mean prospects, I mean a current NHL. They don't have a very deep roster. But then when you look at what's in the cupboard, draft picks, prospects, there is nothing. So how do you go in as a GM and think, okay, I can work with this and fix this?
If you're
Because
Brad Shoveling, what you're taking the paycheck and you're saying it's just a matter of time before I get shit canned.
yeah,
And I can't do anything about it because I got nothing to
yeah.
work with.
Mhm.
The only way to work with that is to tear it down
Yeah.
again.
Well, and that leads me to the point I wanted to bring up, or the question I guess I wanted to ask is he going into this with, you know, maybe he's drank the Toronto Kool-Aid, maybe he's been, you know, blinded by stupidity, I guess, or he knows going into this that he's going to have to tear it down and he's going to have to be a patient and a busy GM ripping the thing apart and rebuilding it. Because it's
The
only
only
that's to me that's the only two things that I can see where the logic or the thought would go through in somebody's head.
They would have to miss the playoffs in order for him to be able to have difficult conversations
Yeah.
because so many of these guys have no movement clauses and no trade clauses or limited trade clauses where you're going to have to go to John Tavares and say, look, is there anywhere we could trade you? You know, you've got no movement. Is there anywhere because we owe it to you? And you're going to have to try and sell that
Mhm.
because he's a smart guy. He signed in the city because he wanted to be there. He wanted to raise his family there. And it's not working out, but you could get something for him. You could get young players or a prospect or an NHL player plus something and then be able to spend that money again in the off season
Mhm.
because you got to break it down and start again.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the contracts here. Let's see. Because Matthews is signed till the end of the 28 season, 27-28. I'm just trying to see. And yeah, he's got a no move clause on his. Willie, I believe, is the same thing, but he's signed till the end of the 29-30 season. So he's here for the rest of the decade. And he's got no move clause as well. So and then of course the next guy down, you got Matthew Nyes, which honestly Matthew Nyes I think is a pretty good deal at 7.75 million.
Yeah,
And then
he's like the Slavkovsky Caulfield contracts that we have. He's in there at the right amount of money, and you don't want to trade him anyway.
yeah, and Tavares is in at 4.4 million for the next 4 years. What's he got? And he's got no, he's got what's he got there? He's got some modified no trade clause, so 5 team list. So he's got some movability, but I mean, in my opinion, that's the guy you don't want to move. I think he's more of a heart and soul guy for this team. Um, Matthew Nyes, again, I wouldn't trade him. I think, you're just trading away your future again to solve a
And
problem
and the
that's
other
not going to be fixed.
and the other money you have is Morgan Riley.
Yeah. Well, let's just see what we got here. Morgan Riley. What's he got?
I think
Yeah,
he
he's
signed
got
through
a
to 28,
modified.
29.
He's got a 10 team no trade list on his. So, I mean, they have the ability to move some guys, but again, like who's taking Morgan Riley? You know what I mean? Like where does he go? And I'm asking seriously because I'm not trying as much as we want to sit here. I'll sit here on this episode for 4 hours and do nothing but bash the Leafs. But who's going to take Morgan Riley and his
You,
7.5 million contract till the end of the 2030 season?
the only way you win this is if you make a dumb deal. And hear me out. You're trading Morgan Riley to Calgary and getting Nazem Kadri. They're same money. One's got shorter term. You're sending Riley's a Western Canada boy. You send him back home ish,
Mhm.
which is helpful for him.
Yeah.
But you're not. Are you any better? No, because then you need a defenseman,
Yeah. But
right? So
and that's my point. You're getting rid of a guy you need to solve a problem that you're hurting somewhere else, but by doing that, you're opening up that hole in the
yeah,
spot you traded from,
yeah,
right?
because they don't have a depth or a plethora of young defensemen in the system. Because you see the ones Simon Benoit, really? He's your savior?
Yeah.
No offense, but I'd rather have Chris Benoit.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
You know,
rest in peace, by the way.
yeah,
Rest in peace. Yeah.
yeah, but it's you can see the value in one franchise drafting and producing and trying to keep players in line. Let's be honest, Arbor Jacki is outperforming half of the roster in Toronto, and he's doing it for a third of the money of the lower end guys.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wants to be there. He wants to be part of the core. There's a chance we get Mike Matheson to re-sign next year for half his money
Mm-hmm.
because he wants to be there.
Yeah. And you're going to see, so Arbor Jacki right now is he's an RFA next year, but he's at a 1.3 million
So
hit right
he'll
now.
get 2 million.
Yeah, and again, he'll get 2 million. And again, I can honestly see him signing for the rest of the decade, the same as all the rest of them. I can see him 2 million for 4 more years, 5 more years,
He'll,
whatever
he'll
the
get he'll get 4 years and he'll get $11 million. He'll get a 2.5 million kind of 3 million kind of fluctuation as pay, and he's worth every penny of that.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, you know, but Jake McCabe and Simon Benoit and Oliver Ekman Larson. I mean, it's pretty bad when I'm going to say this.
Mhm.
OEL is their best defenseman.
Yeah.
I think he's 319 years old. Like
Yeah.
next year, I wouldn't be surprised to see him playing with a walker.
Yeah.
He's been around, but again, he can still skate and he can still do the things, but he should not be a number one guy on any team. And he
And
is that on Toronto.
and another problem they have is like Riley, McCabe, and Tanev, who Tanev is out right now. These guys are all signed to some pretty heavy contracts till the end of the decade.
Yeah.
Oliver Ekman Larson, 3.5 million till the end of 2028. Brandon Carlo, this year and next year at 3.5 million. So it's not like these are, you
They're
know,
not getting rid of him
yeah,
tomorrow.
they're not contracts that are expiring that are on lower numbers. They're stuck same. So we could almost reference this as the core four of defense as the same as the core four of forwards. They got so much money sunk into these guys, they're stuck with them.
And nobody else is going to want them. I had this conversation when we were in our mini slump and with another buddy, and he says I would get rid of, because you and I had talked in the podcast about untouchables and untradables and who was on your list.
Mhm.
And someone says, I think at this point, as much as I love Brendan Gallagher, it's time for him to go.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's a heart and soul guy, but he's 6.5 million. He's got 6 assists. It was before he scored his video review goal. It was a goal, but more or less a gimme. I think
Mhm.
someone you know superimposed some white markings in between the puck and the goal line. Um, but is he worth 6.5 million with 1 goal and 7 assists? It's not worth it. But I said, why do you want to get rid of him? Because he's not producing. I said, so that's the same reason nobody else is going to want him.
Mhm. Well,
If you think he's not worth it to us, no other team below us in the standings is going to want that guy for that same reason.
and that's I think that's the and listen, I know probably every fan or sorry, every team's fan market, I guess you would say, does the same thing, but nobody does it more passionately and more blind stupidity than Toronto. We talk, and I'll use Gallagher as an example. You talk to your friend about Gallagher, you can't trash talk him in one sense and then say you're going to trade him the next because you just made the argument yourself of why you can't trade him. You can't say, he's old, he's slow, he's not producing. Oh
And he's
yeah,
too
so
much
let's
money.
let's let's trade him to Columbus or let's trade him to Buffalo for Alex Tuck. That's
Yeah,
not how it works. If you can see, as the average fan, all the reasons why Brendan Gallagher's not good on your team, the GMs of the other teams know why he's not going to be good on their team too.
yeah. And so then you're giving Owen Beck and Brendan Gallagher, and you're getting back a third round draft pick. You're giving up
Exactly. Yeah.
a second round pick and a guy who's been in the league for
Mhm.
almost 1,000 games, and you're giving it away
Mhm.
just to get a third or a fifth round pick back.
And
The only way,
I don't have a problem with that. And I know you don't either because we've had many discussions about this. The only problem I have with it is you've got Galley for this year and next year, and then his contract's done. So I wouldn't be giving up too much to get rid of him because time's gonna run out
if
him on sooner than later. If he was on a
if
4 or 5 year deal,
yeah,
then
but
yes.
if we turn the corner and he's taking up a valuable roster spot, that's something different. Right
Mhm.
now, we're not at that, and
Yeah.
I'm only picking on Galley
Mhm.
because of his production. I
Yeah.
love Galley.
Yeah.
He's been a heart and soul guy for us, but
Mhm.
again, at some point, you can't have Thomas Placanitz 2.0 and just say, thanks for being here. We'll give you more money and
Mhm.
keep you around. At some point, you got to move on from that guy.
Yeah. And he knows it. I mean, players aren't
Yeah.
stupid. They see the
Yeah,
writing on the wall.
they hear the rumors. Their families are listening to it. You can't tune it out. it,
Mhm.
it comes with the territory of being a pro athlete.
Mhm.
And again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope he has a second half resurgence, and I'm saying, wow, I'm glad we didn't trade him because he's everything we needed
Mhm.
to be and some going into the playoffs. And I hope he can do that.
Yeah. Well, what I would like to see, again, not that I mean anything to the team or they even know who I exist. In an ideal world to me, I would like to see him stay out, finish his 2 years, and retire a Hab. Does that happen? I don't know. It would be great for, writing the story about Gallagher's career and things. But, we've talked about it before. He played such a hard physical game. He's literally beat himself up and bled to win for this
Yeah,
team. And I would
yeah,
like to
and
see him end as a Canadian.
I would love him to retire Montreal Canadian without ever having to play for another franchise. But it is the passion that drives us all, right? When you're a fan, you want your team to win, and you get excited on trade day, you get excited on trade deadline day, you get excited on free agent day. These are things that you get. Players are no different.
Mhm.
They get excited to get pregame, the pre-summer skates in when they know they're getting back on the ice. This is all they've trained for. This is what they know. And if he thinks he could be of value somewhere else and someone's willing to give him money, he's going to say, sorry, Montreal, you just didn't give me another chance. I'm going to show you that I still had it in me.
Mhm.
And he's going to want to go play elsewhere. And you can't fault a guy for that.
Mhm.
Hopefully, when that time comes, you sign him to a 1 day contract and he retires a Montreal Canadian and he has his moment where he can, say his thanks to the fans and the players and the staff and management and everything else. But I mean, those are things that we can't control.
Mhm. And when we're talking about salary caps and contracts earlier, just as another comparison of the two totally opposite directions that these teams are going. I mean, we've hit on draft picks, we've hit on prospects, we've hit on rosters, players that are locked in for big numbers for long term that are going to be pretty hard to move. Um, but let's just look at the overall cap scenario itself. If you take a look at Toronto's cap, according to Puckpedia, again, I know you and I both love Puckpedia, their projected cap space at the end of the year, which is the amount of cap space projected to be available at the end of year, calculated as annual salary cap minus projected cap hit. So basically, at the end of the year, when all contracts are paid, bonuses are paid, LTIRs, whatever, when all that is calculated out, Toronto's going to be $986,518 to the negative on the cap, which means they're going to have to pay a penalty on that. It's
So they
not.
will they if they ended the year at minus a million,
Mhm.
they would lose $1 million in salary cap availability next year.
For the next year. So
The
even
next
if
year,
the cap goes up next year, say the cap
six
goes up,
million,
yeah. So they're saying
they
they're
only get
saying
5.
between 6 and 8 million, the cap's going to go up next year. They're going to lose a million off of that right off the
Yeah,
top. Their current cap space is 3.3, um, three point
because
three
they've got
million.
so many guys on injured reserve or on
Right.
injured list.
Yes. And then, of course, their deadline cap space is the same, projected playoff cap space, but we don't got to worry about that. Playoff cap space won't be an issue for Toronto this year. But now you look at Montreal's situation. Their projected cap space at the end of the year, after all is said and done, is 2.6 million, right? Current cap space is 3.5 million. Their deadline cap space is $11.9 million as it sits right now. Now,
Right,
the advantage that Montreal has is we are running 21 out of 23 players, I think, which in general, I think we've called up a couple guys to fill up spots because of injuries and that, but we've been running
right,
21 out of 23 players. I read a fact somewhere, and again, I didn't write it down, but Montreal is right now between um, uh, the the Canadians and the Rocket are running 42 out of 50 contracts, roster
yeah,
spots, which is this just all accumulates, right?
right.
Their projected
Because
playoff cap space, $24.1 million. So money wise, with their current caps hit, we could make a deal now that could bring in an impact player right now.
and that's what Hugo has been trying to do, and they've said we don't think right now we're an all in on a Stanley Cup, so they're not willing to mortgage the
Yeah.
farm. They're not saying they wouldn't do it. They just at the moment that
Don't
the
need to do
question
it.
was asked, they said we don't need to,
Yeah.
which is great because Toronto does this every year.
Mhm.
We made the playoffs, therefore we have to acquire three guys. And they trade and get five guys, and they give up 92 draft picks
Yeah.
over. Austin Matthews' firstborn son is already been traded
Yeah. Yeah.
because they keep trading off the draft picks,
Yeah.
right? And again, it's funny, but it shouldn't be. We laugh because it's not our
Yeah.
franchise, but this is what happens when you're mismanaged
Yeah. And as a
with the
Leafs fan,
pressure.
this should just piss you off to no end.
Yeah, and this is pressured to win when you don't have a roster to win.
Mm-hmm.
It's like really it'd be like Utah making the playoffs as the eighth seed
Mm-hmm.
and going into this and saying we should trade two young guys, two minor leaguers, five draft picks to get three guys, knowing that you're playing Colorado who might only have nine losses.
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing that?
Mm-hmm.
I know anything is possible, but when the odds aren't in your favor, something tells me you should proceed with caution.
Yeah.
And the Maple Leafs, they're like that giant snowball rolling down the hill
Yeah.
every time. It's great.
Yeah.
Picking up
And
trash
it's
and
a
garbage
repeating
along the way.
pattern. It's not like this is a one-off thing.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. It happens every year, every 3 or 4 year cycle. They go through the same thing. It's just over and over and over again. And we all know the definition of insanity. So when does it fix? What's the fix? When is it going to fix? And I think as
I
long as the fans are buying the tickets and the jerseys, I don't think they're in that much of a hurry to fix it.
I hope it never gets fixed
Yeah. And
because
and
1967 is a long time
Yeah,
ago.
yeah. And then the last part, our deadline cap space, 12 million, 11.9 million. So we could make a pretty significant moves at the deadline as
Yeah.
well. But again, like you said, I don't they're not going to make a move out of desperation this year. They're not going to make a move, whatever. But I think they would make a move if it's a player that can fit into the long-term deal. Somebody, that's
Yeah.
on a team friendly, I guess you would say, contract that's, they're going to get 4 or 5 serviceable years out of it. That's going to improve them in a spot that they need to be improved. I don't see them just throwing around $12 million because they got $12 million to throw around.
Yeah, they're not giving up the picks and the players and the prospects for rentals. Like
Mhm.
if you're going to make that deal, you're making that deal in January or February because you're trying to get pieces moving forward. You make that deal in April, you are doing this at the trade deadline and trying to do this to get the one-off home run for a playoff run. Does it work occasionally? But
Mhm.
you've seen some teams. The Edmonton Oilers are a classic example. They have bumbled their way through with probably the most inept goalie tandem in the league and have made the Stanley Cup Finals 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
They haven't won, but they've been there. And yeah, you got to be in the game. You got to be there to and be in the game in order to have a shot. But man, oh man,
It's scary.
I love it.
Yeah. So on that, we'll drop right into our final thoughts on the. I don't know. I don't even know. I'm
The
if I was a
final
Leafs
thought.
fan, I'd be embarrassed. But what's your final thoughts?
Yeah. If I'm a Leaf fan, I think now is the time. If you follow, what's his name, Grant something or other on Facebook or on Reels, you see all these skits of him and his daughter,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah. She's just
she's
ribbing him hard.
she's changing teams all the time. She's a smart girl.
Yeah,
Follow her. Become an Islanders fan this week, a Devils fan last week.
yeah.
Like she's holding out. Come on, Dad. This is the best time to do this. It's hilarious. And I know it's all in parody, and she's probably deep down a Leaf fan because her dad made her in
Mhm.
order to live at home and get fed. She probably has to be a Leaf fan.
Yeah.
But I would be embarrassed,
Mhm.
right? I'm grateful that we have got over, and many people will say the Bergevin days where we just didn't do well. That was masked by the Carey Prices and the Shea Webers who gave us so much and hid some of the inadequacies that we had. But we've restocked the cupboards. We've moved forward. We've gathered. We've built. We've gathered again and built, and we still are gathering, and we're getting better. If you're a Toronto fan, it is not too late to find another identity. Sadly, because you got some lean years.
Mhm. So I think all I want to say is I love seeing the social media now where the Leafs fans, their heads are exploding, and it's fake outrage. Um, I love the fact that the Leafs are stuck in this never-ending cycle of, they're in quicksand. They're never going to find a way out until. But I think the sad part of it is the Leafs fans and the Leaf management need to realize that, you know what I mean? We put together this team. It didn't work. It's time to do it again. It's time to blow it up and rebuild. But the Leafs management don't recognize it. The Leafs fans don't recognize it because their management is in denial, and it's just going to keep getting worse. It's just going to keep getting worse. And until they, like we recognize, like you brought up about Bergevin, we recognized 4 years ago, I think it was when we brought in Hugo. Well, and I say we, but you know, um,
As an organization. Yeah.
as an organization, they recognized, hey, we got one or two pieces because we had Suzuki, but
Who
it's
was it? Who was a Bergevin acquisition?
right. So there, it's not like they were stripped right down to nothing, but they realized, hey, we need to make some moves. And a couple players got traded. I didn't want to have traded, but I recognized, hey, if you're going to do this, you need to build long and slow. It was a painful 3 years. We both know that, but there was still exciting points, exciting times in that span. But now we're seeing the fruits of the labor, as they say, and Toronto doesn't get it. I don't understand. They don't get it.
Yeah, no, and I love it. And again, if and we can, I'll jump back and just say, look, we have you've talked about it. There's players that you don't want to see get traded.
Mhm,
Arbor Jack guy fits that bill for me. I love the kid.
mhm,
But if you could swap him for Rasmus Anderson in Calgary, 1-for-1 tomorrow, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
mhm,
Not because I don't love Arbor Jack guy. I think Rasmus Anderson makes you a much better hockey team in different ways.
mhm.
As much as I hate to see one guy go, we're playing for the logo on the front, not the name on the back. Um, but the Leaf fans don't even have that to deal with.
Yeah, they got guys they can't move.
No, and it's great.
Okay. So again, I'd like to do this all night long. But we have jobs and everything else in the meantime. So let's head into our trivia.
So it's been a long time, and when I say that, it's the trivia answer. When was the last time the Leafs were last? 2015, 2016. So they're on 10 years where they've been a relevant team. But in saying that, in 10 years, you've not won 2 rounds of the playoffs.
Mhm,
That's the success factor that we're dealing with.
mhm,
2 rounds of the playoffs, people, right? So 2015, 2016, that brought them in Morgan Riley, that brought them in Austin Matthews, that brought them in Mitch Marner, it got them in Willie Nylander. I mean, they were bad for a period of time and got in some good picks.
mhm,
And what have they done lately? Yeah, they win regular season games.
mhm,
Last year, they were the Atlantic Division champions. This year, they're the bottom feeders
mhm,
with almost the same guy except for one,
mhm. Yeah.
right? I mean, it again, we could do this all night, but
Yeah.
2015, 2016, um, and let's just hope that they finish like eighth last this year and,
Yeah.
they don't get any better.
And on that note, 67, of course, we all know that's the last time they've won the cup. There's probably a vast majority, and when I say a vast majority, I'm talking 70% or higher of their fan base have never seen their team win the Stanley Cup. And if they did, it was in black and white TV.
It's
That's how
true.
long back it goes.
They were horse and buggy parades back then too, I think.
Yeah.
Now, in a sad, morbid stat, I'm not making fun of the dearly departed, but from that 1967 team, there's only 13 survivors on that from that Maple Leaf
Yeah.
Stanley Cup win.
Mhm.
Like, you're talking a lot of years,
Yeah. And
right?
how do you have, again, listen, I know this episode's, we're blown way over our internal time limit, but how do you have, um, Montreal is notorious, or not notorious, but very well respected and known for their ceremonies and things they do at the game and stuff like that. And not just Montreal, but there's a lot of teams can parade out their previous Stanley Cup winners and their history and different things like that, and really make a good show. I mean, we all know Montreal does it better than anybody else, but like Toronto doesn't have that. They can't. Who are they going to bring out? Matt Sundin? Okay, Matt Sundin never won anything, but here he is. Don't get me wrong. I love Matt Sundin. I thought he was a great player. I love Wendell Clark. I love Doug Gilmore. I loved all them guys. But what did they do? Nothing. How can you have any kind of a ceremony or any kind of a recognition or add them to your ring of honor or retire their number or whatever? Like at every level, at every angle, and every part of the game, Toronto is just blowing it.
Yeah, I mean, if they go another 3 or 4 years, and every indication would be they're trending that way.
Mhm. Well, it's
At
not
that
getting
point,
better.
you might not have anybody left because the age of the guys on that team that you
Mhm.
might not be able to say, dropping the puck, former Stanley Cup winner. You can't
Mhm.
say that in Toronto anymore.
Yeah.
That like that window goes right away. The excellence ring is futile at that point.
Yeah.
And again, we're lucky. We're lucky that we have a franchise that takes it a little bit more serious now, especially with the cap era being important.
Mhm.
That we have
Yeah.
a team of guys that want to do this the right way,
Yeah.
and you have to be patient. And trust me, folks, 1993 is still a long time ago,
Yeah. Longer
but
than we want. Yeah.
longer than we want. But we are trending in the right direction, and there's got to be legit optimism, not the fake stuff like the other side.
Mhm. Okay, on that note, we're gonna have to shut her off for the night, and force it. I just want to thank everybody again for watching this episode and bearing through our hour plus time on this one, hour 10 minutes or so, hour and 15. We appreciate it. I know Steve and I enjoyed this discussion. I hope you do as well. So remember, please like, share, comment. Please subscribe.
Subscribe.
We're shooting for to get to the 50 number for subscribers now. Again, we've been at this a little over a month and enjoying ourselves. We hope you're enjoying it as well.
Yes, and just I'll drop one quick note. You and I have talked about this. We have a couple special episodes coming up. This month is Hockey Fights Cancer. We will do a Hockey Fights Cancer episode. And we also have in the short term, one of the next 3 or 4 episodes is going to be Canadians players and the Olympics, who's on radars, who's likely going to be there, because that's just around the corner. So,
Mhm.
these are milestones and things that we want to cover, topics that are going to be front and center on everybody's mind. So please like, comment, share, follow, subscribe. We want to make this better for you. We enjoy this immensely. And, if you have any comments, please drop us a line,
Mhm.
so that we can incorporate some of your ideas in,
Yeah.
in future episodes.
And on the Hockey Fights Cancer note, I've reached out to a couple people that I know about special interviews and things like that. But if you have, a loved one who's, suffered from cancer, who maybe lost the battle, And hopefully some have won the battle that you want us. We're going to give some shout outs and put their names on screen and stuff like that in recognition of the battle and their fight. If you would like to have somebody as part of that, please reach out to us. We're only more than willing to do that. We're going to have links for, GoFundMe pages, cancer treatment centers, counseling centers, all the stuff that people need going through. And again, we're diving deeper into this, but there is literally nobody on the planet that has not been affected by cancer. So,
And the NHL does a very good job, and we'll talk about that during that
mhm,
episode. But please, if you have a loved one, I
mhm,
mean, this hits home. It affects every household in the world.
mhm.
If you have a loved one and you want us to pay some recognition to them, please drop us a message, private message, cell message, text. We will make sure we get a mention.
Yeah. Okay. So again, that's going to conclude this episode. And as Steve always says,
Keep your stick on the ice.